it's Redshot and you are watching my Mi-8 takeoff tutorial. In order to take off, you need to first taxi to taking off area. In this case it's the runway. Before we do that, let me explain this. Over here, if you look on the top left corner, you can see this one is my cyclic. Over here is the left and right pedal. Over here is the collective. This one is throttle, and here you can see the braking. Now before we head out, I'm gonna turn up the navigation lights. Okay, I'm going to release the parking brake now, and when I do this, the chopper will start spinning around. There we go, it's already starting to turn to the right. I'm pressing the left pedal to keep it under control, and moving the cyclic to the front, and we are moving. And as you can see, I'm using the left pedal to guide the chopper to the right lane. Nothing else. No cyclic, nothing else, down pedals to control the chopper at this point. Just a little bit left pedal, and we are going in this straight line. Now this will be our turn. We are going to turn to the right. I'm going to brake a little bit. We don't want to go too fast. Just with the pedals, I am making a right turn over here. I'm actually not pressing any pedals to make the right turn. And again, just a little bit left pedal to keep the straight line. While taxiing, keep in mind that the taxiing should not exceed the speed of 15 to 20 km per hour. And stopping the helicopter during the taxiing, set the control stick, position close to neutral, and use the wheel brakes. Never slow the motion of the helicopter with the main rotor, meaning pulling the cyclic towards the pilot. It can be very dangerous and you may lose the control of the chopper. Now while we are taxiing, let's talk about what we are actually doing over here. There is two ways to take off with the helicopter. First, with the standard vertical takeoff, and second, to make a running takeoff, which is similar to taking off with fixed-wing aircraft. You might want to use the running takeoff if you have very heavy takeoff weight. Before we decide which one we will choose, let's talk about this thing called ground effect. Ground effect is an effect that will happen if the aircraft is too close to solid ground, for example concrete. Bear in mind, things like grass will absorb some of the energy from the effect. First of all, ground effect is not just limited to helicopters. Anything that is flying close to the ground will feel it. Ground effect for any aircraft is caused by the increase of the air pressure as the aircraft is flying close to the ground. This increased air pressure is caused by the air being pushed downwards by the wings or the rotors. And since the aircraft is close to the ground, the downward rush of the air has no place to go, so the air pressure pulls under the aircraft. Since the pressure under the aircraft is higher than above, it will decrease the drag while increasing the lift for our aircraft. Now let's start with the vertical takeoff. You can do this by using the heading autopilot or without the heading autopilot. If I may say, it's a little bit easier when you're using the heading autopilot, but it's still doable without it. If you don't know how the autopilot will work, we'll talk about that in another video. Now first, if you look on the top left corner, is my cyclic. I'm going to trim the cyclic just about over here. I'm gonna hit the trim, and I'm gonna release the joystick. It's now center, and you can see the cyclic is trimmed on that location. When I raise the collective, it will try to move to the left. So I'm already compensating the turning. Now here we go. I'm going to raise the collective, and I'm going to also compensate the turning with my pedals. Let's try to make a steady hover over the ground. Nice and steady. I trim the cyclic just about there. And it's in a decent hover. Now let's land, and let's do that same thing with the heading autopilot. I'm gonna reset the trim. As you can see, the cyclic is in the center again. I'm gonna activate the heading autopilot, and I'm gonna order the heading autopilot to turn a little bit to the right. And again, I'm going to trim a little bit cyclic to the right. There we go. And let's do this. Raising the collective, nice and steady. And as you can see, I'm not really using the pedals. I'm just controlling the cyclic. The heading autopilot is controlling the pedals for me, and it's keeping this heading. So it's pretty steady. There we go. Again, trimming. And we are in a solid hover, if I may say. Now bear in mind, we are now in the ground effect. We don't need that much power to stay in this hover over here. But if we raise out of the ground effect, we'll need more power. Let's take off. I'm going to raise the collective to have some power, and a little bit cyclic to front. We are going to leave the ground effect, and we are making pretty solid takeoff. And there we go, we are flying. Here we are, back on the runway, and we are going to make a running takeoff. And for this one, it's not allowed to use the heading autopilot. The idea of the running takeoff is fairly simple. We are getting some speed on the ground, and we are going to raise above the ground level, just above the runway. And when we are flying over the ground, we are in effective range of the ground effect. And while we are in the ground effect, we are going to gain some speed. We are going to gain enough speed to get out of the ground effect and raise up and take off. And how we're gonna do this? Going to release the braking brake, a little bit cycle at the front, and let's start moving. Going to raise the collector a little bit, get some more speed. Rising to collective, using the pedals, and raising the aircraft from the ground. Trim, and here we go, nose down, let's gain some speed, let's keep the right heading, more and more collective, and we are raising out of the ground effect. Nice and steady. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video.